All right, welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Scott Banjovic. I am an engineering faculty member here at the College of DuPage. We are pleased to have Dr. Christopher Burke here with us today. He is an accomplished water resources professional, a professor at UIC, a proud graduate of Purdue Engineering, and here to tell us a lot about what he does and what he has seen in his illustrious career. So we're glad to have you, Dr. Burke, and please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, glad to be here, and it's a pleasure to be on being recorded today. In addition to having the engineering firm that Scott described, Christopher Burke Engineering, I'm also on the College of DuPage Foundation Board and have been for 6 or 7 years. Been very interested in the activities. In addition to being a professor at UIC, I used to teach when I first started my company at IIT out west. So they had a campus. They were renting space, which is now College of DuPage. And so I've taught there for a while. I'm a DuPage County resident and have been very active in some of the professional societies in DuPage, and some of the people may be interested in some of these. The Morton Arboretum, I just finished up my 3 years as the chairman of the Morton Arboretum board, and I am the chair of the Conservation Foundation. And as Dr. Banjovic knows, these are all related to the study of the environment and or water resources. So that's been my focus and interest for many years.
Very good. Being that you own your own engineering firm, and we're here to talk a little bit about STEM today. And for those of you watching, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. We'd like to talk a little bit on the broader context of who you employ. It's not just engineers at the engineering firm, right?
Right. We've got different environmental science people. We have surveyors. We have technicians. We have people that do CAD related work, all based on some type of engineering, but they have skills related to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. They have all taken coursework over the years. Many of them have bachelor's degrees, if not in engineering and science, and they have pursued a very rigorous program in math and science and the fields of environmental science.
For those participants that are watching this webinar, you have mentioned water resources. We've talked about environmental work. What exactly is that?
Sure. Most people don't think about water resources unless it's affecting them in a negative way. And water resources includes a study of how we deliver the drinking water, as an example, to our homes. Everybody takes that for granted. I can imagine that those people watching have never had an episode where the water did not come out of the faucet or the shower or anywhere else in the house. And so we study and evaluate the best ways of delivering water. As an example, last week we had a valve turning ceremony for a North Shore suburb that has just taken Lake Michigan water from a different source. So Lake Michigan water is a primary source for those residents of DuPage County. We also study water resources in a way that some people have experienced, and that's flooding. Water in the basements, water around your houses, water in the streets, all are considered negatives for property values, quality of life. So we look at ways to mitigate that or minimize the effect of, we call it excess precipitation. Now, right now, it's in August, we need precipitation. And one of the things you find, we either have too much or too little, never just right. And like the Three Bears and the porridge, I suppose, we never is it just right. So we have to deal with droughts. We have to deal with extreme flooding events. So those are types of things that we spend a lot of time helping our communities, helping individuals deal with it. And it's very rewarding.
let's focus a little bit on that environmental word just specifically here. That doesn't mean people hugging trees, right? It doesn't mean like Greenpeace. Well, what is environmental engineering and environmental scientists? What is it that they do on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. What we study the effects of the environment. We look at wetlands as an example. Wetlands are things that people would normally describe as a marsh or some people call it a swamp, but a wet area where we have not only a great vegetation, but we also have sufficient water to keep plants and other species intact. Many of these wetlands that are ubiquitous in DuPage County, as an example, provide significant benefits to the environment. I think many of the people would be familiar with the wetlands on campus at the college, and those are very unique. Those are intentionally developed and maintained, and they provide a wide variety of benefits. So our staff are out there looking at ways of expanding the wetlands, enhancing wetlands, and making sure that the construction process does not negatively impact wetlands. And so that's a different group of staff members that spend their time doing a lot of things. They burn wetlands, which a lot of people like burning things, but these are controlled burns, not like the wildfires that you saw out of control in California. But they're burned, and the rejuvenation of the wetlands in the spring helps the wetlands jump ahead of all the invasives and weedy type plants. So those are some of the things that we do from an environmental perspective.
If I were a student wanting to pursue a job at your firm, what kind of degree would I need to get? There are different levels of degrees, associate's degrees being a 2-year degree, bachelor's degrees being a full 4-year university experience, and then there's even graduate school, master's, PhDs, things like that. What would you recommend to someone that wants to participate in this lifestyle and this particular career?
Well, one of the things we find is that the students that come out of College of DuPage, thanks to you, are very well prepared to take on a variety of different roles. Many of the students that go to College of DuPage are multitasking. That is, they're carrying on a job and going to school, and can work and be a student at the same time. We found that to be very valuable. I always have pushed young men and women to pursue degrees in STEM. And not only associate's degree, that's a stepping stone, but certainly to get a bachelor's degree. I don't like to talk about this too often to people at universities. I think that there's only so many different ways to teach math or calculus, physics, and chemistry. You don't need a Nobel Prize winner to teach the chemistry course. In fact, I think that many of the instructors at College of DuPage will do better than that Nobel Prize winner. So what you need to have is a strong fundamentals, a foundation, just like we do in civil engineering. We have a foundation for our buildings, and the building blocks of math, physics, chemistry, it goes a long way. And I found in the work that I've done at UIC, I asked the students, how many of you went to College of DuPage? And I'm always amazed and pleased at the number of students, and some of often the top students in the class, that have gone and got a great education. They all remember you and the fundamentals that they learned. And the excitement, I should say, the excitement that they have for the field. When they show up to a UIC or a UIUC, they're real excited about, they're well prepared, and they're able to tackle the project. So I always tell my students, and whether they're interns here, to reach. So whatever they think is too hard, whatever they think is too difficult, go beyond that. Take on that challenge. And I think that too often students, young women and men, decide, I just want to be comfortable in the classroom. Well, that's probably not the best way of taking on life. I have 4 children. 3 of them are engineers. And so I told the youngest one, all my children in STEM, the youngest one is a doctor. I said we had covered the engineering profession. We didn't need her to become the 4th engineer. So I encouraged them all to pursue STEM, and and thankfully they all did.
Well, you must be very proud. It sounds like an extremely successful family, and I wouldn't expect anything less. If you were to think back, maybe as you started your STEM education or your STEM career, or maybe even now as you are an instructor and a mentor to so many young individuals, what is one piece of advice you could give to someone starting their STEM journey?
So I go back to one of the things I said, and it's reaching. So just like a lot of people, I spent my first year at Purdue, and we got the hell beat out of us in math, science, and all the other chemistry, and you go, whoa. And then you would see all these people that were taking courses in technology, and they took Math Light, Lite, Physics Light, and they were their math is pretty straightforward. And so I came home one summer, or the first summer, and said, hey, to my dad, who was an engineer, I'm thinking about transferring over to technology. Now, back in those days, there weren't a lot of discussions, and the answer was no. You're staying in engineering, which was a great thing to have done, because it was it was uncomfortable. As you know, it's hard. It's not easy, and making yourself uncomfortable. And as I mentioned earlier, reaching beyond what you think you can accomplish, I think is something that everybody should do each and every day. Whether you're working out in the morning, redoing a house, whatever it is, reaching beyond what you think you can accommodate. And I think it goes a long way in life.
I think that is fantastic advice, especially for someone that is getting into any of the STEM fields. There is tough math. There's tough classes. There's lots of opportunity out there, but if you want to have a creative and successful career, you got to work at it, and you really need to put in the effort that's necessary to achieve those goals. That's great advice. Let's talk, I guess, a little bit about what it is that you love about your job. And you have so many varying hats that you wear and positions that you fill. But I don't know, pick 3 things that get you fired up to get up in the morning and go to work.
Well, I think about, I've never had a day that I said I didn't want to go to work. I know people that have scary Sundays where they don't want, they're getting depressed on Sunday evening because they have to go to work. I've never had that, even when I was in graduate school. I mean, I always loved starting out the week and taking on the challenges. And one of the great things about being an engineer and doing what I do is you solve problems. I'm not really interested in talking, and that's really separates us, as you know, from planners that are very happy about talking about it and putting everything in a nice booklet with little bullet points and big color pictures. And that's interesting, but that doesn't, I want to see something done. There's so many problems that we have in infrastructure and other aspects of society. Talking about it is not something that excites me. So engineering, getting things done. I talked about getting water to a community, solving flooding problems, watching these flood projects that we developed that take water and store it like a big parking lot during an event, and then moving it certainly off of the street and from what would otherwise be in a house, and storing it and watching those and getting the the emails from the community about how well it performed. That's what really I think we're all about as engineers, is developing something to help society, whether it's clean water, flood control, great structures, high quality transportation. Those are the things that really make me feel good. My office is near the airport, and there's ramps that we worked many years in getting to fruition that now are essential to O'Hare and used beyond comprehension. But they take a long time, and studies, may be interesting to some people, but getting things done and seeing how they help society is what really interests me and gets me going.
Do you ever want to label your airport ramps as this was Christopher Burke's airport ramp?
No,
I like
but
that.
people have driven past. It's Balmoral Avenue, and they're. This was not this. I started this when I was, probably 32 years old. I was actually a young engineer starting out, and it takes a while because there's a number of them and a number of projects associated. So it took a long time. So, but I feel good every time I see people, getting off of it and taking advantage of it. So,
I think that's something that maybe incoming students do not associate with the STEM fields. Is it's creative in such a way that I don't think we always get credit for. Do you have any other creative projects or memories of things that you've built that you're especially proud of?
Yeah, there's a number of them, and right near the airport, once again, we've got under a big garage, a 5,000 car parking garage. We have an underground storage reservoir to hold potable water, and it's snuck under. No one knows that it's there, and it was, it's very deep, 50, 60 feet deep, and it was a really interesting project. Now, I've got an iPhone, and we all have apps. The life span of an app is about 3 years, right? I mean, it's 4 years, and then you're down to another version, or someone clears it off their phone. So the developer of that app may feel good for a short period of time. Civil engineers, especially, are can look back at some of their projects and know that the shelf life is 75 or 100 years old, or even longer. I'm not that old, but and even longer in some cases beyond the lives of the designers, the people that designed the sewer and water system that Chicago relies on. They've been dead for 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. They designed it and they thought that it would be replaced in 50 years. It's 100 years old, and so we were able to solve those problems, and that's what's exciting about it. And we have a long shelf life, unlike other professions. The impact that civil engineers have is long.
Kind of along the themes of those projects, your projects have such a direct and important impact on society. Talk about the need for civic engagement and the need for a good ethical foundation to be able to help society move along and get these basic services that civil engineers provide.
And that's really important. And it's not only the ethics, it's a communication perspective. I always tell all the students that are in civil engineering or in any engineering, go out and learn how to speak in front of a group, because you can have great ideas. You can understand the interaction of nature and science and physics. But if you can't communicate that to an audience in simple terms, then people will just go on and not engage. So I tell my students, go back to your high school, go back to COD and participate. Go back and talk to a class, talk to an engineering group, and tell them how great STEM and engineering is, and become involved. And so I've been pleased that some people have done that. And in our ASCE, American Society of Civil Engineers, a good number of the, I think at various times it's been to a half to a third of the board are former students that the executive board, that I have at least encouraged when they were in school to give back, to go back and do things. So communication is really important. And you know what? The first couple of times, if you bomb, that's fine. They can, the students are, you're a reprieve from something else that they probably didn't want to hear anyway. So to hone down these skills that are so important to be able to explain these things. And of course, getting involved, kind of like what I talked about at the beginning, getting involved with the societies, the different groups that you have, and taking advantage of every opportunity, whether it's showing other kids on campus, speaking to them now on Zoom about the benefits of COD. Those are things that are really important, and something that I like to, and for engineers, I say it's part of the citizen engineer, and being more than just a fixture, become someone that's involved in your neighborhood, in your homeowners association. All these different organizations want engineers. As you know, too often these professional societies that are not engineering centric don't have engineers. Bankers, lawyers, and financial people dominate all of these, many of these organizations. And they want engineers. They never have doctors or engineers. And when I said medical doctors don't have really bad schedules. But if you notice, it's dominated by other organizations that don't have the scientific basis. So I always tell the students, when you go to your place of worship, when we did do that, or if you go to a movie theater, remember, by the time you're done with a STEM program, you know math and science better than 97% of the people there. You know math better than 90. I used to say 95%. The dean of engineering said it's probably 97%. So it's very important, and people should have confidence once they've gone through the rigor of the programs that like the one that COD, then they're ready for it.
Well, Dr. Burke, it's been certainly a pleasure talking to you today. I kind of want to close with a final thought from you. For those of you watching, this man has seen and done a tremendous amount for the Chicagoland area. Christopher Burke Engineering is a premier organization. Some of the societies that you have sponsored and the foundations that you sit on do tremendous work. And then your work as an academic professional at UIC is also not to be overlooked. But what do you want your legacy to be when you someday decide to retire from this field?
Well, I guess, I really don't ever think about what I want the legacy to be. I'd like people to view the situation as something I gave back, and my benefit to the region, and maybe even beyond a little bit of the region, has been significant and substantial, rather than not substantial as much as real. That it's just not a bunch of reports sitting on a desk or that need to be updated 10 years from now. It's more important that these are projects and that we provided a valuable service to our clients and help these citizens within those communities.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Burke. We really appreciate you joining us.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, and to all the students, reach beyond the level that you think you're able to get to.